what a maze consists of if the whole earth was made into one. I know there's governance and there are different laws of jurisdictions in each country, but one thing's for certain is if people are getting thrown around like meat on a stick, not being able to go outside, or being able to buy and sell, what on earth would I be talking about? All right, so how does a bad thing materialize? First off, you have gatekeepers. When a gatekeeper comes around, you may or may not be able to see it. Gnats and fruit flies are made really small, but when they're all together, it's as though they're opening a floodgate. Opening a floodgate, if you're a gatekeeper, is something that is a cross between long and short. When there's enough of them, it categorizes in between those lengths to have a characteristic of an embodiment. I was almost tempted to show a bush that had long stems and leaves at the top, because all of the bush together resembled the shape of the leaves and the stems as a collective up to the leaves, to make the bush's shape have one. But if we're speaking on gnats, all of them together are going to have a calling, if there's enough of them, of something bigger than that: maggots. In Chicago, my sister again had a trash can, and then the bottom of it were what was called maggots. And it's the complex of this blue city that allowed that. The complex of a blue city would entail rats the size of cats, where you just don't look at them. Where this is an occurrence is also the gatekeepers who become glorified jobbers. And when you can't tell the difference of those two things, the hybrid state levels up. If being rushed to the ICU is the moment of clarity for "I told you so," this can be done by putting a virus everywhere. How this can appear is by making everything around a virus more susceptible. This is done through malnutrition and a lack of going outside. Things are internety when people don't go outside. I'm on the Ave again, and so I'm an advocate of it. An advocate of outside. Something as simple as crossing a street can be allocated to how a supply chain can withstand a lack of customers. Red Rover, bring blank right over. If a company is choosing their customers, one way of doing this is saying that you can't come in if you don't exhibit XYZ. In the 70s, it would be no shirt, no shoes, no service, as a sign put outside of business windows. Modern day and age, we're in the 2020, 2022, 2023, it's these businesses having history repeat itself. Instead of no shirt, no shoes, in cities that are blue and in other places that have grants shoveled up, not important, they'll say no mask, no service, no proof of vaccination, you can't come in. So I'd like to touch upon the Manitoir and the maze. This is a Greek bad guy. He had a bull head. If you envelope a set amount of actions into a solidification state, this can be shown as a blueprint of hieroglyphic. Extremely complex, but undeniable feats of attribute. How many things are cast mold is hard to see in reconciliation. The grooves of a ground you can see having like cobblestone. If you have liquid running through the grooves of cobblestone, light can refract off of it at a certain degree, and it'll do it every time. This is one way of understanding envelopes. So I'm engaging with things that we know is trans fat. The complexion of this is something where it's non-original because it's recycled. If you're eating fast food or a Chinese restaurant, you want them to cook the food at the start of the day because the grease of their oven will be not recycled. This will change the taste of the food because it will not have as much trans fat received. The same can be said for reiteration fluid. How much of this reiteration fluid is preferable? You've got to know how big the capsule is that is being embalmed with. And I just crossed sectioned like human anatomy with biology of an entire planet. I said biology of a planet was because people look at the planet as something that is alive. Tree huggers. And I'm not like stepping on anyone's toes by saying the earth is alive. There's people thinking that they can recreate themselves to be more alive, to be more lively. Is it having icebreakers and being cunning the life of the party? The life of the party and an embodiment of entities. And entities are a law department. Law departments are in Wisconsin of Madison. You have your state capital. Around the state capitals are places where they're called to be associated with your state. Okay, so when there's states, capitals having state associated buildings, houses, firms around it, it's entities. And I'm saying this because I spoke to one person, part of this complex, and they described as entities around them, which is entirely accurate because my sister, who has a law degree, said the law is alive when it's being practiced because it can take lives and it's always being the end all around. Gnats everywhere. The end all around is if you can define what's incriminating and then use complexes to blur the line, you can ostensibly move what is a ID. Let's start with political parties. So political parties do not define what society is, but if you're putting one before the other from blurring the line, and then saying that the political party which is the most divisive is the middle of the scale between one that is not. Then you would ostensibly have power to incriminate masses. And this is what Plato's closet entails, was he thought shadows were real people because he had come so attuned to it. And that's what a slow kill weapon is. When it comes to viruses, they're so small that you can't see it. So if you're being told you're attuned to them because you have bacteria in your body, and viruses and bacteria can both get you sick, you're easily subjected to